Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Today is July 20th, 2025, and I am going to just give you guys a recap and an update on what we're seeing in Ethereum and then what we're seeing across Pulsechain too, because obviously there's correlation there. And yeah, things are looking good. Things are pumping, and I just want to give you guys an update of where my mind is at. It is Sunday, so every Sunday I will do a stream that is a public video. So I'm going to cram all the information and cover each individual coin briefly. I won't deep dive and dissect everything, but in my private Patreon, everyone that's there, we've been breaking all of these moves down throughout the week, multiple times daily, and just really walking the chart down, and we're on top of it there. So I did post a video on YouTube, my most recent video. We were talking about Ethereum, and right now I'm on a 15-minute chart, by the way. But on Ethereum, what we were looking at in my last video was we had this high and then price kind of came down, shot up, created a bit of a equal high, but essentially it was a lower high. You don't want to see lower highs. Whenever you're trying to create structure and you're getting these impulsive moves with pullbacks, the next impulse you want to see break that previous high. Anytime that doesn't happen, that's not really a good sign. Not saying it's bearish and the entire sentiment of the market or the cycle's over. No, just this is short-term micro analysis. So in that moment, when you're looking at a lower high, that's where you start looking at the downside targets, the downside targeted structural areas, which in this scenario, on that video, we talked about going back down to the 3470 range. And then sure enough, yeah, we created that lower high, price broke down, tapped this potential support area, and never actually created the support. In fact, it broke under, came up, tested the general area as a resistance, and then we saw that big impulsive move down. We almost hit this 3,700 line that I had drawn up, or 30. What is that line? 3470. But this skinny line, when you're doing technical analysis, it's almost like tongue in cheek. That's one skinny line in an entire price chart. It really resembles a general area, right? Because like if you see, like you have all this structure here, then you have this top here. So the fact that like price came in this general area gives us enough evidence of a structural retest. So we ended up seeing that. Came really close to our range. That was the next area down where we were looking at to create structure. Came down there, got the immediate structure. Price shot down, saw a volatile bounce back, which was nice to see. And then on the following, dip, it actually created a higher low. So same way you don't want to see higher highs or lower highs when you're looking up, you don't want to see higher lows when you're looking down. So that's a good thing for the people that want price to go up. Of course, you got a higher low there. Price shot up, could not really get above this resistance or potential support area. So it actually confirmed resistance, right? And then right here on a micro level, price broke under, got that perfect retest to shoot down. But again, while it shot down, it just showed the strength in the market because as it kept confirming resistance here in an area where we wanted to see support, we kept getting a higher low, higher low, higher low. Price shoots up from this third consecutive higher low, confirms resistance again, and then what do you get? Another higher low. So price is just showing this tremendous amount of strength over, Friday into Saturday into Sunday. And then, yeah, eventually, this isn't a picture perfect pattern, but you guys know I talk about these ascending triangles where you get that flat top with higher ascending bottoms. The tension is pushing to the upside, and then the more you tap one specific range, the weaker it gets. So the fact that this horizontal area of the 3570-ish, 3580-ish range, even 3600 roughly, was consecutively being tapped, it got weaker and weaker simultaneously. While we simultaneously saw the lows just get higher and higher and higher, that was the sign of, hey, this thing wants to probably push up to the upside. And sure enough, that's what it did. We broke up, created another resistance tap, right? And then this time, the push down stayed above the line, broke the resistance, gave us another minor support test, and then boom, from that moment on, price shot up, got to our next target area at that 3,700 range. Since then, price pulled down, got a nice healthy pullback, easily broke above 37, confirmed it as another support line, and then shot up to this 3750 range that we're chilling at today. And yeah, so same thing. We're looking at this 3750 range. We got this high, and got a fresh pullback, didn't necessarily create structure. I mean, on the 15-minute chart, doesn't even show too much structure, so I can't imagine on the hourly chart. But right now, in this exact moment, what I'm looking at today is Ethereum gonna create a lower high here at this important 3750 range? If so, we're probably looking at pushing down to create some structure beneath, at least in the short term, which would be good in the long term because we know markets like to move with structure. They don't like to. Likes to move in waves. It doesn't like to move impulsively, or with any imbalances. It likes to be full and fulfilled as it creates its structure. So yeah, as of today, over the next few hours, this is all I'm looking at. What's happening at this 3750 range? Are we getting a lower high? If so, let's come back down and create structure. If we're gonna break this high, then we're just moving up to our next range, which I have those ranges mapped out in our Patreon page. But I mean, let's say this thing wanted to keep pulling up. The clear level is going to be the 4,000 range. And go to my Patreon charts, you'll see why. But just to briefly explain it, I mean, all this previous structure of 2024, we could not get past this resistance area. So that's the next magnet you're looking at on a macro scale. So clear resistance area, and I would expect if price wanted to shoot that high, it's gonna eventually slow down around $4,000, if not now, right? Because looking at the RSI in the day chart is extremely overbought. And looking back, when the RSI was at these levels, let's just go back, like where the level's at now. Let me get an actual line, not array. Horizontal line. So it's above 85 right now. So looking back, when the RSI was at these levels, right here, right? So last time was in May of 2025. And as you see, we had this big impulsive move. RSI got extremely overbought and we stayed sideways for 2 months. It wasn't necessarily a bearish thing. Price just decided to slow down. Didn't mean price was going to go down. It just stayed sideways as the RSI eventually reset itself. So on the RSI, it came back down to being like, okay, it's pretty much in the oversold range while price was still, in the same general area of where it was off that impulse, which is good to see. And then going back, it didn't necessarily get as high. This was still lower than 80, but still you see that high there, it pulled back, but obviously there's strength behind that. Back here in March of 2024, RSI was at the level that it's at today, and that's where you had the top. That was the top of the year. Price has not gotten past this range, right? So price hit this overbought range in March of 2024 and never returned. Well, I guess it did come back and tap it in December of 2024, but yeah, it's been over a year and price hasn't returned to that range ever since being oversold or overbought. But to be fair, I mean, you do see the RSI. Now, this is just an indicator. I'm not an indicator guy. You guys know me. I go based off of structure, support, and resistance. I keep it simple. I don't need to use indicators. I don't prefer to use indicators, but just using an indicator does give you context. But as you see here, we've been in these ranges before. In 2023 November, we got to this range, and all we saw was just a traditional pullback, and then the bull market or the bull cycle continued to push up. So it's not the end all be all knowing that the indicator is showing that it's overbought. But what it does tell me is that price is eventually going to want to slow down. Does not mean it's going to pull back down. But again, we moved sideways here when it was overbought earlier this year. And right now it can move sideways. It can pull back. It can go all the way up to 4,000 and slow down. But I would eventually expect to see Ethereum start to slow a little bit. And that's why I'm looking at the micro analysis. If we create a lower high today, maybe you see the start of that. If we create a higher high, maybe we'll still get a little bit of a push up, but I don't imagine this thing breaking $4,000 and just continuing to rip without eventually creating some slowdown in the chart, getting some new structure to reset itself. So yeah, but the chart looks extremely bullish right now. I mean, the environment, the sentiment, it all feels good. So whether we pull back now or later, doesn't necessarily matter, but yeah, it would be nice to see some structure in the market. It would be nice to get some resets in the RSI. So, excuse me, that's all I'm looking at for Ethereum as of right now. And now going on to PulseChain, geez, excuse me, over here burping. I'll go through a few of these charts. We'll go through them briefly. I won't analyze everything and make this an hour and a half or an hour long video, but on my Patreon, we've been walking down every move throughout the week multiple times a day, and it's been working. The chart's been respecting the technicals like clockwork because we haven't seen an insane injection of liquidity or anything into the market that's creating any broken structure. Although Hex has really been pumping lately, of course, but it's still honoring the technicals. It's still honoring the structure, okay? So last time, I wasn't live here, but in our Patreon updates, I made a bunch of videos, quick videos on Hex and every individual coin. So I won't really go too far into the recap just for the sake of timing in this video, and because I will put this video on YouTube. This will be a YouTube video today and for everybody, just to give everyone an update. Just because there wasn't really much going on Saturday and I didn't update my own private group, but I just feel like, I feel like everybody needs to just be up to date on what's going on. So yeah, with that being said, looking at the mic, and this will all be micro analysis. I'm not going to go too deep into the macros. I have plenty of videos, whether it's on YouTube or on my Patreon page, that go on the macros, but we'll just focus on what I'm focusing on in, today, over the next few hours, over the next day or two. But anyways, last time we made this video was about 2 days ago, day and a half ago. We had this local high that we saw Hex at, and then price was pushing up to this range, right? And the reason why I circled these two levels is because the same thing I talked about on the Ethereum chart. Whenever you get these pushes, you get the impulse, you get that correction. Next impulse, you want to see a higher high. You do not want to see an equal or a lower high. So that's what we were focusing on as of Friday going into Saturday. We were wondering, what is Hex going to do in this specific range? And then now, looking at it in hindsight, let's just draw out. Let's actually delete this blue drawing. And this is micro analysis, of course. Now I'm looking at that high, giving you this range. You extend that range over, you see Hex actually broke above it. We do have a higher area, or a higher high in this area. And we do have a little bit of a pullback, retest in this range, and price is pushed above it right now, but it looks like it's also trapped in that same breath in this specific area here. So where Hex is at now, you're seeing these highs. You got 3 taps, 1, 2, 3. It hasn't necessarily broken it yet, but it also did create minor structure underneath. So what I'm looking at in the Hex chart today for the rest of the day is, let's just get this thing moving. It would be nice to see this thing just break, and then I would eventually expect some sort of slowdown in the 67 range. Assuming Ethereum decides to slow down, even if it pushes up, I would assume everything kind of moves in unison, although Hex has been stronger than everything around it. But kind of like we were talking about in Ethereum, where you saw the equal highs get continuously tapped. Like I said, you tap that enough times, it becomes a weak area. Now, what you want to see off of these bounces, again, is higher lows. So let's say you have this low here, price came up, found this new resistance that we now have confirmed, came down, created a higher low, which also resembles structure here, came back up, tapped it again. You did get a higher low, right? Now we came up, tapped it again. We're actually in the midst of creating this downside candle, so price is pushing down as we speak. So as of right now, what I would want to see is Hex continue to make higher lows and just get above this range, right? Just create a little bit of a pushback, break above, boom, boom. That would be a perfect world, get to 67. But we don't know if that's going to happen. I have no idea. None of us have any idea. So we just have to wait and see. And let's say Ethereum takes a big hit. If Ethereum gets punched in the face, I would assume everything else gets punched in the face too, right? So just pay attention to everything with all the context. And we would want to see, in a perfect world, Hex create this higher low as it decides to respect this resistance area. So if that happens, great. If not, we're going to push lower, and that's where I'll do a update on my Patreon for all of my members in my group. I'll update you guys once we see this, but at least for everybody now, just pay attention here. What happens in the 65 range? How low do we go? Do we create a higher low? If not, that's where I'll give you guys the updates. So yeah, that's all we're paying attention to now. Looking at Pulse, there's a lot going on here. I updated this in my Patreon. There's something beautiful about this trend line right here, ladies and gentlemen. If you're not on that Patreon, go take a look at it. Look at the structure. Look at that structure. That's a beautiful development on the Pulse chain side of things. So I won't talk about it again because all my members already saw this breakdown. I have a 5-minute video specifically for this, but go look at that, ladies and gentlemen, if you guys want to see some beautiful macro structure being created there. But on the micro level, let's see what we're looking at. So yeah, sort of the same, similar things. This was our range that we talked about on that video. We had this higher high here that we wanted to get above that red range, and since then prices slowed down. Price actually got here, so let me backtrack. We're chilling around this 30 range, and we wanted to see, does price get above this or does price not? And that's where Saturday we had not really anything exciting going on. Price just kind of floated around the resistance range, didn't really move up or down. That's why I didn't make any updates. But obviously now you see price broke above 30, and now we're at this local high. So the important thing to see here is, do we create a higher high? It looks like price is starting to push to make a higher high. But if you put it on the daily chart, I mean, so this can easily turn into a wick and create an equal high. So we have to kind of wait and see how the day develops. So it looks like it's promising at the moment. We do have this sort of mini higher low pattern being created while simultaneously creating, sideways resistance. So everything's sort of showing the same thing. So yeah, really for Pulsechain, all we're looking at right now in this current moment, this is a 15-minute chart, which sounds crazy, but at this point I've covered so much of it that we have to do micro analysis because that's the only way I can do updates. Yeah, we just got to see, what are we doing in this 31 range? Are we going to chill and keep breaking? I mean, are we not going to chill? Are we going to keep pushing higher as we go? Or are we going to slow down here? That's what we don't know. So all I'm doing is paying attention to this range. In a perfect world, you want to see this thing give us a little bit of a push, maybe come down and create some structure here, show us some support. That would give us a sign that it wants to go up. And then, yeah, I would imagine if this thing decides that it does not want to continue to push up, our next range is still, let's just keep trying to build support in that 30 range. That 30 range is oh so critical, as you've seen in every video I've made the past 2 weeks. So the more support we can create structurally on that 30 range, the better. But yeah, just looking at the day chart, we just really want to see these these highs be pushed into higher highs, and then eventually create a low that is where this high range was at. So yeah, that's Pulsechain for you. Incentive token, you guys, we've been mapping this thing out, and this is probably the most precise price chart we've analyzed, because we got that $1.28 range down to the exact penny. $1.57 range was respected, created a local higher low, couldn't break above of $1.57. Yesterday it showed us that it wanted to push, and that's where I was talking about $1.70 was the range of the next focus, which we didn't necessarily get there. Price actually wicked. We still could not get above this $1.57 range. Now the good thing is we are consistently tapping it. The more you tap it, the weaker it gets in theory. But what you want to see in incentive token today, you already have this low, right? You got a higher low, and you see these resistance taps, resistance, resistance. The good thing is we keep bouncing off the resistance, get a higher low again, right? And now we are at the resistance again. So if price decides to push down, just like Hex, just like Pulsechain, you would want to see these lows get higher and higher. That would give us the confirmation that price wants to push up and finally break that range, get to $1.70 in a perfect world, come down, and then flip this to a support. If that happens, that is a beautiful setup for structure on incentive token to show us like, hey, we want to continue ripping to the upside. So yeah, if the incentive token is the exact same thing we've been talking about the past few days in our Patreon. We just need to get above this range. We need to get above this range. So I'll leave it at that. To get all the detailed analysis, go to my Patreon. I'll keep updating my members there. But yeah, incentive token is fighting quite the battle right now. PulseX, we've been talking about this too. It's been mapped out, and similarly, this one's showing more promising structure across the board compared to everything else. But again, that purple range we mentioned on the Patreon a few days ago, we wanted to break above it. And price, we marked out this resistance kind of coming down, creating this support at this red range we have here. It didn't happen how I drew it up on the blue chart, or with the blue line, but we did see it, tap this resistance here and then come down and eventually set the support line. So I can just move this thing over right there. We did get the support at the 2-2 range, came back up, could not break the local high, came back down. It's not necessarily, it is technically a higher low, but it's more of like a consolidation sideways pattern. But in this exact moment, PulseX is showing promise. It is showing that it wants to push above these local highs. We just really need to see this thing get above these most recent highs here. So you want to see PulseX push this 25 range to really start showing us like, hey, we want to get, a new area of structure in the works. That's in the hour chart. If I go to the day chart though, again, Everything looks more structured on the hourly, but on the daily, who knows? If this thing pushes back, oh, it's pushing up again. There we go. Nice little push. On the daily, this thing, you do not want to see it wick and finish under this purple range here. So if that finishes under on the daily, I would imagine we're going to push down and retest the red range. If we can close this candle above the purple line, then yeah, we're looking at that 25 range, the next area. So that's more of a long-term day or two analysis. But yeah, in this 15-minute chart, things are looking quite good. But yeah, if you're looking at the PulseX chart today, go to the 15-minute, circle this range right here, just extend it over. That's what you're looking at. You need to see what PulseX does right here. That's all we're paying attention to. So once we see the price reaction, whether it breaks above and retests or respects it, that's where I'll go ahead and update all my members on the Patreon. But yeah, that's PulseX for you. Won't really go through all of these coins. Well, Helgo, there's not too many requests from the members in the Patreon there, so I won't really dive too much into that. A quick Pulsechain wrapped BTC analysis. So the big thing we were looking at a couple days ago was, yeah, we had this local high. We were showing the structural wave pattern, right? You had the impulse, you had the correction. If you wanted to see the impulse, that's where we talked about this range right here. We have to get above the $800 range. And price is doing that in this moment. Price is showing us it wants to do that in this moment. Now, you are seeing the next minor levels of resistance being, respected. Right, you see the institutional candle bottom, came back, ended up being a wick top. Price is at that range right now. It hasn't necessarily pulled back off of that range, but it is a good sign that we are seeing this. So on the daily chart, it would be nice to see, hey, price just wants to sit here and not do too much, close this candle, make it look really strong and bullish today, and then eventually from there create some microstructure where, you're setting a floor underneath above the 780 range. That'd be good. But yeah, all we're paying attention to right now is let's just get this candle to close, stay strong on Bitcoin, especially close higher than this previous wick. And then, yeah, if we can close in this general newfound resistance range, now that we're taking the next leg up, that'd be good. But yeah, let's get the structure created first. Let's finish the day high. That's what you want in a perfect world. And then we can focus on creating structure underneath. So if and when that happens, I will go ahead and update everybody in the Patreon that has been asking about this. So we will stay paying very close attention to this. So that'll be the Pulsechain wrap Bitcoin for you. And then for the PDI people, I know you guys in the Patreon love this, so I'm going to cover this for everybody too. But for PDI, and by the way, I will do E-Hex too. Don't worry. PDI, everything we've been talking about, still looking good. That macro 5-wave pattern we were talking about looks good. I have that drawn out thoroughly on the Patreon, so go into the Patreon and find that if you want to see what I was talking about. But for micro analysis, yeah, within those big five waves, we have wave 1, wave 2, wave 3, wave 4. We could be doing a 5-wave push, so we could be retesting this local high. So for PDI, again, we came down and found this range that we mapped out about a week or two ago. Found some support there, so that's good on the macro scale. On the micro scale, we want to see this thing get above this local high here still. So the 60 range on PDI needs to get broken sooner than later. And I would imagine that it wants to get tested if it's going to honor the structure at least. So yeah, PDI, things look good on the macro scale. The chart does look pretty, but we need to see what happens when we get back to the 60 range. And I will keep you guys posted in the Patreon as we see this develop. So yeah, overall, things are looking good on the micro and the macro. So, yeah, we just need to get past these previous highs, not only here locally from 2 days ago, but those are the same resistance areas from the beginning of July. So if you can see PDI get above this and set a new high for July, that's a perfect scenario there. So there's that. E-Hex, okay? E-Hex. Oh, this chart never saves for me, so it just reset all of my ranges. Dang. Okay, well, in my Patreon, you do you have all these levels mapped out, which we had this local low here. I'll do a brief little, let me get that out of the way. I'll do a brief little analysis here and just redraw these levels that we're sitting at. But we have this level. Now you see price did wick when we had that last seller empty out all of that, 600 million hex on both chains. Price did create structure, didn't create a new low. It actually wicked. And if you discard the wick, it does create sort of a higher low, right? But factoring in the wicks, because they do matter, we did create equal lows across the board, kind of resembling how P-Hex did the 4-5 range, and then how E-Hex was able to keep this low here. Let me scoot this down. It did not break through these lows on a candle closing standpoint. That resembles the 47 range roughly on the P-Hex chart. And then now, yeah, E-Hex on the daily is making us push up, and you have this strong and obvious point of resistance. Look at this. Just extending this line over, right? This low of May of 2025 ended up being a support line. Support line broke under, became a resistance, and price really respected that resistance area. So right now it's currently respecting the resistance, so we need to see this create a higher low for bullish structure. We don't want to see E-Hex create another resistance tap and then, you know, show us that it wants to push down here. So let me zoom this into the 15-minute for you guys. So on the 15-minute, yeah, I mean, the chart looks really good in the 15-minute. It's just, yeah, you have all of this clutter and consolidation. Boom, clutter, consolidation. Extending that over. You don't want too much clutter and consolidation. You'd rather see this thing get above sooner rather than later. But on a micro scale, you do have these lows here, or these highs here, potentially being retested right now as we speak. So in a perfect world, you see this structure kind of bottom off here and then push up and then break over this range. That would be a perfect world, ideal scenario. So that's what you want to see right now. But if it doesn't hold and then, you know, decides structure's not strong enough here for support, the next area we're looking at is the 17.3, 17.2 range. That'd be the next area of support I'd want to see at E-Hex there. But I have this all broken down on the Patreon. This video is already 26 minutes, so I'm just going to speed it up just because it is a public YouTube video. Don't want to put a whole hour out there or anything. So back to the Pulsechain side of things. PTGC, beautiful looking chart. We've been mapping this thing down too. And yeah, actually has hit. So when we did our most recent video, we were at this blue range. What we wanted to see a couple days ago, Friday into Saturday, was price get above this blue range, find some support. We end up doing that. If we did that, what we really needed to do was get above this wick, which was the green line we mapped out. We're seeing that happen right here in the moment. So PTGC is just going according to plan. It's almost a picture-perfect chart, at least at this stage of the cycle. So yeah, let's see what it looks like on the daily, actually. So right now, yeah, if this can maintain on the daily, this will be extremely bullish. You want to see this daily candle finish above this green line, which right now it's there, but we still have the entire day to kind of revisit that. Next micro level, just briefly looking at it, and I'll break this down in the Patreon for you guys, but just getting a quick brief look at things. This 53, almost 54 range shows the next daily structure. So if this decides to push up and keep moving, I would expect sometime later in the week, assuming we do confirm all the bullish areas, that we're going to push the 54 range. But before we get there, get too far ahead of ourselves, let's just make sure that we stay above this green level that we're at. So micro analysis, 15-minute chart. We're creating the high. We're getting above this local high here. That's good. So throughout the day today, you want to see this thing push up and then maybe come down, create some micro structure there. And then over the next few hours, few day or two, that's where you'd want to see that thing push up. So yeah, it'd be nice to see the PTGC chart get all the way up there. If not, of course, you have this structural area here. You still have this blue structure to test, but we won't really get too far in the future. We'll wait and see how this chart develops, and I'll keep you guys posted in my private group. So yeah, it's PTGC, Hex. I think we talked about every main coin. All the specific coins for the people in the Patreon, just send me a message on what you guys want me to mark up. Send me messages today and private messages, and I will mark those up tomorrow for us. And yeah, I'll leave you guys with this sort of video, giving you guys a brief insight. But yeah, main thing, Ethereum. It's kind of what we're paying attention to. We're still sitting at this 3750 range. You want to see these higher lows, like everything we're seeing, right? Hex, Ethereum, PulseChain, incentive token. You're seeing all of these higher lows at a micro level be created. You would want to see these things just keep, you know, pushing their way up. So a little bit of a triangle pattern in this exact moment we're seeing there. So yeah, you guys have all my levels for today at least, and then once we get the developments, I will post updates and mini videos for each individual token tomorrow, and we will go from there. Thank you guys for tuning in. I will see you later. Wow, I wasn't even showing that chart, was I? Well, it's all right.